Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vassell and Sam Healy.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia. How you doing?
Sam Healy, what's up, folks?
Z Garcia is hoping for the apocalypse because he looks forward to the after parts. We know this because
The
it's
after party, you said?
The after parts is what he actually
okay.
said, but yeah.
The after party's going to be killer.
no that is one of your favorite themes, right?
It is. I can't wait. I, for one, cannot wait for gasoline to run scarce. And
In this game, each person has their own shelter that you are building and attracting survivors to, and apparently a convoy is going to show up, and they're going to pick up the people who have the best shelter when it's done.
Well, we all
the
need...
people who run the convoy are clearly Eurogamers.
They show up with a clipboard.
All right, let's see. Add up your sheep. How many
They're coming
sheep
around
do
with
you
a
have?
white glove.
Yeah.
Dust.
No. -2 victory points for that.
Correct.
Okay, but that part of the theme's funny, but the other part, you are going out and scavenging for food and supplies and coming back and occasionally meeting other people and beating on them a little and stealing their stuff. Kind
Beating
of.
on them. I never did
You're
such
technically
crazy
strong-arming people, yeah.
No.
Here's how it plays. At the beginning of the game, each player is going to get 2 leaders, and they're going to pick between these leaders. So each leader is going to give you some starting resources. So Cooper Frost would start with 2 wood and a bullet. Grayson Piggott starts with a hatred for other people in a zombie apocalypse. Aaron McCarthy starts with water, and so there's different people. So let's say I pick Wilson Fry. So I start with 2 meat. I also start with an equipment here, the shotgun. The shotgun is going to give me +1 when I go hunting. It also gives me half of a symbol. If I find another item that gives me the other half of that symbol, it's an extra point at the end of the game. And it also shows where I have 4 heroes and where those heroes are going to go. So there's different spots on the main board. So if I'm the blue player, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can pick which numbers go where. I have 2 3s, a 4, and a 5. These are all laid face down. Or they're all laid down on the board, so you can see their number. Right now, they are inactive. Now, the game is going to take place over 6 turns. Each of these turns is going to be started by turning over an event card. This event card is going to affect everybody. Each shelter loses 2 materials or ammunition. If impossible, lose a survivor. This happens to everybody, and this is going to happen every single time, 6 times. However, at the end of a turn, whoever has the first place marker will have a chance to solve the event, which means they can pay 4 bullets and 2 meat. If they do so, it goes away and they get 5 points at the end of the game. Solving events is useful because they stop hurting everybody and they're worth points. So otherwise, they're going to keep happening. So on turn 2, each shelter loses 1 commodity. If impossible, loses a survivor. This one here decreases the search tiles available in each city, so different tiles will be gone. So again, these are going to take place every turn. The meat of the game is the main board. And what players are going to be doing is, once the event has been handled, in turn order, players are going to take turns moving one of their heroes. Now, when you move a hero, you can move them 1 or 2 spaces. But there are some very specific rules. So if I'm the blue player, I can move him 1 or 2 spaces, but I cannot go to where my own color is. So he can't go here, he can't go here, so he can go over here, or he can go up here. This guy here could go here, he could go here or here, because they're all 1 or 2 spaces away. So when you go to a space, you will then turn your hero upright to show that that hero has been used, and then you will see, are you the only active hero at a site? Yes, everyone else is laying down. If they're laying down, they're not effective. Then you get to activate that site. If you go to a site and there is another hero there, so let's say Orange moves his 5 there, and you are stronger than the other hero or heroes, so 5 is stronger than 3, you intimidate them. Intimidate them means, because it's a 5 and there are 3, you get to steal 2 things from them. They pick what's stolen, but still, losing commodities to the person who's stealing from you can be a bad thing. Now you can fight off someone who's stealing from you by paying bullets, and so let's say 3 has 1 bullet, so now he's a 4, so he only loses 1 item to 5. If he had 2 bullets, he wouldn't lose anything. If the 5 was there first and the 3 moves in, nothing happens. It's only when the big hero moves, larger hero moves onto a smaller hero. After that, whether you were intimidate other people or not, you then get to do actions at the place that you were at. 4 of these places give commodities. We got chips down here, electronic chips, wood up here, bullets up here, and metal down there. You can simply take the number of actions that are listed on your character. You have a certain number of actions. You can also do other things. Up in the area where there's the bullets, you can activate the seaweed. If no one else has done it, you flip it over for 1 action, and that will cause your radiation to go down by 1. In the other 3 locations here, you can attack an animal that's there. Hunt an animal. So this is 3. You would need to spend 3 actions to hunt it. It would then give you 1 food. If in the future you attack another of the same kind of animal, so let's pretend this is a wolf. Let's say I kill another wolf, that's another 3, I would get 2 food. If you kill all 4 3s, the 4th one is going to give you 4 food. You say, wait a minute, Vassal, I saw that there was one with a 7. The highest you have is a 5. You're right. Well, first of all, my character has that shotgun, if you remember. That gives hunting +1. But also you can spend bullets to add to decrease the value of the animal that you are trying to hunt. Other places to take actions are these 2 areas right here. In Blackwood and Silent Peak, they each have equipment here. You can, for 1 action, take a piece of equipment, although that equipment is broken. And in between turns, you can activate that equipment by paying the resources at the top. And each piece of equipment is going to help you when you go to certain spots. Like when I go to the fair, I'll get 2 extra chips. When I go to the cargo ship, I get 2 metal. When I go to the dam, I get an extra water. So they usually benefit the different actions. This baseball bat here, which for some reason has barbed wire wrapped around it. When you go to a spot someone else, you put an extra point of pressure on them. So a 4 would make a 3-person lose 2 resources. You can also spend actions to draw tiles from these little decks here of search tiles. And these search tiles are the same for both Blackwood and for Silent Peak. These tiles have on each side of them will have different things. So this is kind of a random thing. There are 2 tiles that give you nothing. There are some tiles that give you the different resources. There are some that will decrease your radioactivity. Like here's empty cupboards with nothing. Here's holy water. Here's a heap of metal, etc. And as these are looked through, they go away too. There's only a certain number of resources at each location. Just like up here at the dam, you can get water. Water's like getting stuff at the other places. The difference being you have to pay 1 microchip before you can get any water so that you can purify it. Finally, the last place you can go on a board is here, the cargo ship. When you go here, it's different than the other places. There are specific spots that you can go to. So if I bring a 5 in, he goes to the 5 area. I will get this canned food. So I'll get 3 canned food actually. So I would have a stack of 3 here. And here you get 2 canned food, 1 canned food. And you would also get a survivor who goes into your base. So let's talk about the base. Here we have 7 rooms each player is going to have. Everyone has the same 3 rooms here. They're in yellow. And then you're going to draw 6 and keep 4 rooms. So your rooms will be different from game to game. And at the beginning of the game, you pick one of your rooms. So maybe I pick this room here. And no, I'm going to pick the top room here. And activate that room. So that room is already built. The other rooms aren't built yet. I'll fill it with survivors. Survivors have different pictures on each side. And so I have 3 survivors in that room and 1 survivor in my airlock. And in between turns, you're going to be messing with your base in the night phase. First, you'll solve events. And this room, since it's activated, it doesn't have anything to do with events. But this one here says when you solve events, I can pay 2 less to solve that event. So that's a good room to have active. Then I'm going to need to feed my people. Now, when feeding the people, you are actually going to be paying attention to the number on the room. You don't feed per person. If there's 1 person in his room or 3, you pay 2 food goods, which can be water, meat, or canned goods. And so the better the room is, the more the food is going to cost. You'll notice that all these are 2, but this one down here is 1. And there are rooms that cost 3, but they are going to be better rooms. Like that one here, hunting gives you an extra 2 food when you go hunting. And so players are going to have to pay food. Then players will have to also feed the survivors that are in the airlock. Here you pay per row. So the first 2 survivors will cost you 1 water. After that, the rest will cost you 1 water. Then you handle the radioactivity. Depending what turn it is, Underneath the event card, so this is the final turn, there's a certain amount of radioactivity. It's going to be 1, 2, or 3. Everyone's going to have to move their radioactivity up that many spaces, but they can subtract 1 for each survivor that's in here. And remember, the seaweed and other things can make your radioactivity go down. Then players can build more rooms. Each room is going to cost 3 of the different materials, whether they are stone, wood, or the microchips. So when you build a room, you'll be able to turn it over. If you have more survivors, you'll be able to fill these rooms with survivors, which of course will cost you more food in the future, et cetera, et cetera. And you can use some rooms at night. So like, for example, this one here says decrease the radioactivity gauge level by 1. If I have this one built and filled with people, every night I'll be able to decrease my radioactivity by 1. Then, if you got any equipment that, so let's say I got the backpack, I stole it from Dora the Explorer, I can pay the amount of wood on it here, 3 wood, and build it. And now I can start using this in the future. And then finally, you have to clean your shelter. You can recruit survivors. I forgot to mention that part. Each meat that you have and each canned food and water, you can turn these in to get more survivors. So that's the best way to get more survivors into your base. But then you have to get rid of all your meat, because meat only lasts 1 turn. That's why canned food is better. And you have to go down to only 2 water if you have more than water. And that's pretty much it. You then go to the next round. At the end of the game, you are going to get points equal to the events that you've done. You're going to get 1 point for each equipment and 2 points if you have equipment that matches. So let's say, for example, I have the flashlight and the chainsaw. That's going to give me an extra point because they have the matching symbol there. You get 1 point for every survivor, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Also, you get points for completing rooms, I should mention. The more rooms that you have completed, you'll get points, and you'll get points equal to where you are on a track, minus points, or even possibly positive points. Now, first off, even though this has a very strong post-apocalyptic theme, it is definitely what we call a Euro game. It is definitely getting resources to build things, to get points, and feeding your people.
Worker placement,
resource management kind of game, for sure, through and through.
Well, let's talk about that worker movement, because I find that's kind of an intriguing thing. The worker movement is, first of all, you're constrained that you can only move 1 or 2 spots. You can only move...
Unless you get the mech.
Right, unless you get the equipment. But you can only move to a spot where you are not in currently.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of think ahead. Mm-hmm. Am I going to move this piece so then I can move another piece into that spot later on?
Yeah.
And if you move your pieces, do you move your big number first so that no one can intimidate them? Or do you move your small numbers first so you can use your big number to intimidate other people?
Right.
It definitely had a really cool twist on a tried and true mechanism, worker placement. It added, it's not just I take my guy and put him here, I take my guy and put him here. No, you have to think about movement. How far can he move? Am I already there? Do I have to move him out first? Do I want to move, whatnot? Everything you just said is a really cool twist on one of my favorite mechanisms.
I agree. I think it's very well done. It reminds me a little bit of this other smaller 2-player game called Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. A 2-player game, also a little worker placement game where it's the same idea. You have to evacuate a place before with another person you can show up and take that action again. And this is elevated above that with the powers, the strengths that they inherently bring, and a distance restriction that they inherently bring. And it all works very well. It's a tightly designed mechanism.
Another thing I like is the asymmetry of the game. At the beginning of the game, you have 4 unique rooms that no one else. Well, they might have one. They might have some of the same rooms, but you have different rooms, and those are all you have for that game. You also have a character who starts with a specific number of resources and a piece of equipment, which kind of gives you that special ability to get started with. Yep. And so each person is not starting the same, which is a big. But really not only are they not starting the same, they're starting fairly different.
Yeah.
I thought that I like that. I'm sure it would have been more apparent how different it was if you played without it, but it didn't. I don't feel like it truly informed every decision I made or anything. Like it felt unique, and I like starting with something different than everybody else, but it wasn't like in your face. I
don't know. I think just from my perspective, I definitely went at it because I didn't start with any bullets. And you started with like a buttload of them.
Like 3 or 2.
And then you started with a couple.
Yeah.
I didn't start with any. So right off the bat, I was like, okay, so I'm not going to be aggressive on this game. And that
Which is so weird.
That kind of not tainted, but that just changed the way I was looking at the game. Because normally I do like conflict. I do like to compete, mano a mano, whatever. But with I kind of my starting resource was, my starting thing was that I do better at going to get food and more people at the cargo ship. So I was like, okay, I'm going to exploit that. And then one of my rooms was I get 2 kinds of resource every time an empty cupboard comes up whenever I'm searching through the cities. So okay, I'm going to exploit that too. And so my starting setup, for me at least, really gave me kind of the path that I should at least try to follow and exploit to do better in the game.
And I really like the event cards a lot. I like how they're a negative thing for everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
So they don't hurt any one particular person, but they're annoying. But you can get rid of them. You got to pay for it, but you also get points. So by nature, the game is like, get rid of these events for multiple reasons.
Right.
So I don't know that I've ever played where there was more. I don't think I've ever seen 3 events happen yet, because as soon as 2 events happen, they're like, all right, somebody's got to take care of one of these.
Yeah.
All right, this is getting annoying. What do you think about the aesthetics of the game? Now, to note, this is the regular version. There's an even super deluxe Kickstarter version, which I've seen it. It's really pretty. But when I first got this and opened the box and punched it, I was like, wow, this looks really good. All the little pieces, they're small, but like they're shaped differently. They look good. The art, I think, is really well done.
The art is great. The art is one of my favorite things.
It's easy to move around. I didn't think the symbology was that difficult for the game.
It was pretty easy.
It's post-apocalyptic to me, and I felt like it. Other than that funny thing about the convoy, but I mean, other than that, I think it fits the theme. It is a Euro game, but I think it fits the theme.
Yeah, I think I like everything about it except maybe the little people tokens are really tiny, like you said. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, those tokens are
small. And then the tiles in the cities that you search through are also really thin little.
They are
strange tiles. I don't know what it is. They could have been either cards.
It's more like just.
There's somewhere between like a tile and a card.
It's either heavy stock paper or it's light stock cardboard.
Yeah, you know,
one of the two. It's in a weird window.
There was a small deck of cards that would have been much better, I think. Like, the tiny ones they make. That would have been fantastic. But other than that, artwork especially, I think, is superb.
I wouldn't have minded if they had the animal tokens, instead of being tokens, have a little deck of small cards with a picture of the animal.
Oh, there's that too.
Like, hey, these are tigers or whatever.
Yeah, you can look at the print that they give you, and it's like, what animal is this? And these two look very alike, and so you just resort to looking at the number. But again, I kind of want to use that to point out that I found the game does that to itself in a considerable amount, where they give you this post-apocalyptic game, they give you that gorgeous cover, they give you the setup, this theme, and then you play and you go, oh, I'm pushing stuff around, and I'm collecting just, cubes of this and that. It's not actual cubes, but, that's... And it almost feels like the game, at any chance it gets, it will go, oh, we can have fun with the theme here, but no, print numbers on there, and let's go. And I don't know, I kind of wish the theme was... they would have pushed through it a little bit to help the immersion factor, because there's a lot of Euro-style mechanisms in here.
That's true.
And pushing the theme a little bit would have definitely brought me in a little more into sort of just partaking of the world as opposed to manipulating a world in front of me. I don't know how else to put that, So, yeah, a little more thematic, a few more thematic ties would have been good.
They would have had to go a little bit deeper with artwork.
Yeah.
To really help that immersion factor a little bit, and maybe they couldn't afford to.
Yeah.
There could have been any number of reasons, but I see what you're getting. There is a little bit of a thematic disconnect with some of the mechanisms, not based on what you're doing, but based on it just doesn't look like you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
Because the artwork is not there on some of those components. Like the hunting tiles, it's a paw print with numbers on it.
Right.
Okay, that's not that I want blood and gore and all this other kind of stuff, but there has to be some type of thematic inclusion.
It's a clear way for them to get across what you're doing, and that's what they're going for.
Yeah, that's
clarity.
True.
I get that. That works. Theme would also have been nice on top of that too, a little more.
Now, despite all Z's Debbie Downerness here, I really do like the game. Yes, it is a game where you're collecting resources and stuff. And yes, it even includes a mechanism I tend to dislike, which is feeding your people. However, I don't mind it as much in this game because that actually is what this game is about in many ways. It's not like a catch-up mechanism. It is a catch-up mechanism, but you can go out and hunt and get lots of food that way, or go get cans of food. I mean, there's ways to get the food, and I don't know, I just felt very fulfilling to me. Like, there's a certain number of resources. The game was so easy to figure out in a sense of what to do. Go here, grab this. Yes, there were some tough choices, and if you watch your playthrough, you'll see that some people have AP. But I felt like the choices weren't over.
Is he pointing at me or you?
Me.
Okay.
I will
Usually
say
he points
this.
at me.
Well, go ahead, finish.
I don't feel the choices were over the top. I felt that they made sense thematically. Like, oh, I need some wood to build this. I liked the different rooms. I thought the whole thing came together. I'm actually going to keep the game. I really like how it looks. I don't even miss not having the Kickstarter upgrade, because some people always get upset. They're like, oh man, I wish I had this extra stuff. This, as is, I think is a really fun game. So for me,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be careful not to maybe say it's amazing, but I'm still I don't know, I'm giving it 2 chainsaws up. I like the equipment. I like finding equipment, fixing it. It just really worked on a lot of levels for me. It was a Euro game that could have been easily about trading in the Mediterranean, you know, the mechanisms, but it felt different and unique for me.
It's now that you say that, it's actually kind of shaped like a trading in the Mediterranean game, because you're going around all of these different things.
Stop.
That was the original
You could
theme.
definitely do that.
That was definitely the original theme. Clearly. So anyway, this is probably my favorite trading in the Mediterranean game. No, the point I wanted to come back to, you're right, I had a lot of AP in the live playthrough we did. I think this is a game that has a pretty solid learning curve.
That's true. I won, right?
Yeah,
There's
I
a
came in
lot.
close second.
There's a lot here going on. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of gears in this game.
He just played poorly.
I played poorly, I'm sure, also. But yeah, it's a game that even after you've played one time, you'll look at it and go, I can see what I would do differently. I can see the different buildings I would have started with. I can see how to play this again and do a little bit better. That's a sign of a good game to me. When it's a game you play and you go, yeah, I don't know, I felt a little lost, but I would try that again and see how I do the next time. I think this game has that in spades. It's the kind of game that you will not figure everything out the first time or do that well at it the first time. But there's a lot of exploration to be had. There's a lot of discovery here. And I think all the parts in it do work well together, you know?
Yeah.
I do think that this theme fits it. Don't get me wrong. Sam is right that it's, you know, it feels a little bit like it could have been whatever. But I'm going to give it one stupid post-apocalyptic hat up.
Wow, he called you post-apocalyptic stupid hat.
No, I mean just in the apocalypse, that hat will be stupid.
That's true.
Like it is now. That's what I meant.
Somebody's a wee bit bitter.
Yeah,
I'm going to give
Debbie
it
Downer again. See what happens.
I'm going to give it 2 grappling hooks up.
Grappling hooks?
I really enjoyed the game.
his favorite equipment.
I like worker placements. I like the thematic connect that most of the game does have.
Right.
And I do like the theme. Post-apocalyptic, not my favorite, but I do enjoy it. It's inviting to me. And like Z was saying, I do like the fact that you can step back, look how you played the game, and know what changes you're going to make and the next time you play to do better. I like games that do that. The ones that make you think about what you did to the game. Sometimes you play a game, you're like, glad that's done. Other times you play the game, you're like, that was fun. Let's play something else. And other games will make you think about the game.
Right. It's a game you keep coming back to in your head going,
correct.
You know, it was pretty good. That first try or whatever was just rough because it was a first try of a game that had a lot in it.
Yes.
Right? And so I like that you can keep coming back to it in your head, and that's a sign of a good.
It has a real
design.
Playground feel to it almost. I mean, you definitely have a set direction that you want to go into, but it's really, you can do whatever you want to do within it. So I really do enjoy it. So 2 grappling hooks up for me.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.